Hello friends, you are watching Haryali Online. Today in Haryali Online, I am with the very colorful plant. These plants are known as a croton. Croton has so many varieties. You will find the very different colors, very different shapes, some small, some big sizes of leaves, with the very different variegations, with the very different styles, the very beautiful and high color contrast you will find on the single leaf, that is the croton plant. India and Malaysia are the native areas for this plant. This plant like to be in the very warm climate. As it find any change in the climate, it will give you the symptoms on its leaf. It will show the less color on its leaf. It will show the shrink position of its leaf. So depends on the climate. It depends on climate too much. If you keep this plant less than 10 degrees centigrade or higher than 26-27 degrees centigrade, then it will require some extra care. Croton is a perennial plant which grows at your home whole year, but in the winter you have to give the very special care because winter is the dormancy period for this plant. In winter you have to save this plant with the frost position, and you do not have to keep it in the very high sunlight. You have to keep it in indoor, the environment which you like in the winter. I will simply say which you like, you have to keep it there, but you have to give it the high bright light also. And the most important thing, you do not have to water this plant too much in the winter, because in winter it gets into the dormancy, and in dormancy it is not active to drink the water properly. It gets the very slow services, very low services it will have in the winter. So at this time if you give the water frequently, so what happens that your plant will go on the root rot side. So these all were the basic information regarding the croton plant. Now let's start some special care. In a special care, I will define first that the sunlight position, which type of sunlight, how much sunlight this plant can bear. For getting the sunlight, this is the very tricky plant. What happens that if you give the high sunlight, it is not happy. This plant will not give you the good symptoms. If you keep it in the very light sunlight, even then it is not happy. And if you keep totally indoor, what happens that it will turn its leaves into the green color. So which type of sunlight actually it requires? Actually, there is a condition behind it. If your plant is very mature or if your plant is not mature. My plant is not mature and my plant is in very small planter. So what happened that I give the sunlight my plants which is available in the morning. Earlier morning sunlight is the very best for this plant because these are not mature, these are in the very small planter. If your plant is very mature, if it has a good stem, very thick stem, if it is in the very big planter, and what happens that if it gets the whole day sunlight, even then it soil media does not get dry very fast. In that case you can keep it in the whole day sunlight. But the sunlight, sometime what happens that we have the very high scorching day in the June, in the May. So this type of weather is also not favorable for this plant. Don't keep it outside. You have to give the shady area and you have to give it the partial shade. So these type of some sun requirements it has which you have to follow. Next which I will discuss about this, that is the water schedule. Actually this is a very common question regarding this. How to water this plant, at what time you will water, in what frequency it should have the water. So this type of so many questions I keep hearing around me. So let's discuss this. Actually every plant requires the water only as you, when you feel thirsty then you drink the water. So the same condition every plant has. What happens when they gets dry, you will water this plant, but it doesn't mean that let it be dry properly and it soil media will be break or crack from every corner. No, you do not have to be like this. The right way of watering into your plant is you have to check your plant before watering. If you find the top layer dry, then add the water in it. Second thing which I always say, never try to have the big planter for your plant. If you have the big planter, it will have the high amount of soil media. High amount of soil media will not get dry very fast. Continuously soil media will be the cause of your plants rotting. If you feel that your plant's leaves are getting drooped down, it means they are feeling thirsty. This is the sign that they want water and you have to water your plant at the moment. If I talk about its soil media should be well drained. Soil media should be full of nutrient. So you have to give all the things in the soil media which are very important for this plant, which will give it the good growth with the good nourishment. For this purpose, you will use the soil, compost, bone meal, coco peat, neem cake, Epsom salt. These all are the very important things for your soil media for this plant. So the ratio you can see on your screen now. Now about the fertilizers. What fertilizers are the best for this plant, by the way? Actually, the plant which have so many leaves, as you can see in this, it has a variegation. So to maintain the variegation, to maintain the bushy look of their leaves, this type of all the plants require too much high nitrogen and Epsom salt. This type of little things will make the soil media very best and give the very high growth. So I will recommend for this type of plant you have to use the Epsom salt in this soil media. If you are not using the Epsom salt in this soil media, so take the water in half-liter bottle and add half teaspoon of Epsom salt and add into the soil media directly. You can spray on them also. The next thing is cow dung compost. Soak the cow dung compost 24 hours and next day you will have the compost tea. Use that compost tea in the diluted water. Now you can also again put in the soil media, or you can spray also. Whatever is suitable for you, you can do this. Last thing is the propagation, which you must want to know. So propagation is very easy but depends on the right weather. February and March are the very right weather for the propagation of this type of plant. Not only this type of plant, for every plant. If you have missed these both months, so what happened that if you have the rainy weather, again it is ready to be propagated. For propagation you will take the branch which should have the top piece also, and the branch you will take, it should be thick like the pencil. So this type of hardy branch, this type of hardy stem is able to be propagated. Propagation has two methods. One, you can soak that branch into the water in 30 days, because this is the hard stem, that's why it will take some time. In this time of period you will find some roots in it, but you have to keep changing the water. The next process is you have to take that branch and you have to simply shift into the soil media, the very simple soil media. Because in cutting we don't use some compost, we never use some other things, only simple soil media which is called the bhalu matti, that is enough for the propagation. This plant is little poisonous, so beware. Here I have shared all the things which could be important for the croton plant. If you are interested to have this plant at your home, so follow these all the tricks. You must have the very good plant at your home. Try to planting at your home. You should have some part for the greenery of the earth. So keep watching my channel. How was this video? You have to tell me in the comment box. It's time to love you and leave you. Take the very best care of yourself. Thank you very much.